I'm like 90% sure it's crooked. Hello everyone, my name is Lisa and I'm the Viet Vegan because I'm Vietnam vegan. And today we're making scones because it's May. You know what's in May? Mother's Day. And you know what my mother likes? Savory bready things. She likes basically the same stuff that I like. Today we're gonna make some savory scones, some tomato basil scones. Now, I love scones, I love savory things, and you know, sweet scones are pretty good, but like savory scones are just like, they're a good time. So for Mother's Day, I thought I would share this recipe with you guys so that you can make some savory scones for your mother. I've actually done a savory scone before on the channel a long time ago. If you guys haven't seen that video already, I'll leave a link up there, or if you just want the recipe, I'll leave it down below for you. Those cheddar chive scones are a good time, so you should make them. If you don't want to make these tomato basil, you know what, make both. My mom really likes carby things. I like carby things. You know, like mother, like daughter, probably. I don't know. What does your mom like to do for Mother's Day? What kind of things does your mom like eating? Let's get to making some scones. The thing with scones is that like there's different kinds of scones. There's ones that are like more bready and there's ones that are like more biscuity. And personally, I like the ones that are like super biscuity that like you want to smear a ton of butter on. And obviously I mean vegan butter when I say butter. I really like scones and I really like eating cold butter. That sounds so weird. I've drunk baked scones before because I just wanted to eat butter. So we're gonna start making these scones with flour. Now you can use gluten-free flour. The properties of gluten aren't like absolutely necessary for scones. They just need to stay together. The only thing that will happen if you use gluten-free flour instead of gluten-full flour is that they might crumble a little bit more. That's not a big deal. Scones are crumbly anyway, so if you want to use gluten-free flour, go ahead. I'm gonna use a regular ass flour today. And you know what else I'm gonna add? A little sugar. You might be thinking, Lisa, really? Sugar in a scone? I don't know. I always just add like a teaspoon of it and it just makes it, just a little touch makes it a little better. To our flour and our sugar, we're gonna add some baking powder. This is what gives it the puff, you know? And then we're also gonna add some salt. This is a teaspoon of kosher salt. Some of you guys have mentioned, at least in the comments on my blog post sometimes, that things are too salty based on the measurements that I gave you, or they're not salty enough, or whatever. I've been trying to be better at like listing what kind of salt I'm using, but I always use kosher salt, which has a bigger flake than like iodized table salt, for example. And also iodized table salt is saltier than kosher salt, if that makes any, like there's some salts that are saltier than others. Iodized salt is great. You can use iodized salt if you want to. Just use like maybe half a teaspoon instead, or even like a quarter teaspoon. I don't know, half a teaspoon is probably fine because it's like a savory scone. Table salt is great because then you get iodine. Otherwise, eat some seaweed. I'm also gonna add a little garlic powder. This is, well, actually granulated garlic, but they're basically interchangeable. So we're just gonna sift this all together. And by sift, I mean whisk, which is lazy sifting. Another thing that we're gonna do is we're going to make our buttermilk. So we have our soy milk, and to that I'm going to add some apple cider vinegar, and that's gonna curdle up and gonna make some buttermilk. And then we're also going to add some concentrated tomato paste. So I'm using some concentrated tomato paste. Not all tomato pastes are made equal. I can show you the kind of tomato paste I have. So the tomato paste that I use comes in a box like this. It is in a tube and it's concentrated, so it's pretty great. I also like that I don't have to put it into ice cube trays like a regular canned tomato paste. And I find the stuff in the tube tastes a lot more like tomatoey. Also probably has something to do with the fact that it's concentrated, but you can find it at most grocery stores, especially if there's like an Italian section. Worst case scenario, you could just use regular tomato paste. It just might not be as tomatoey. You can double the tomato paste amount. You just may need to add a little bit more flour to compensate. We're going to add our tomato paste to our curdling soy milk. And we're just gonna mix that together. All right, so we're gonna let that sit on the side to thicken up. And then I'm also gonna take off my rings and put on gloves because sanitariness. This is the first time I've ever had long nails in my entire life. I've always played piano or flute or like musical instruments, and I have eczema, so I'm prone to scratching, so I've never had long nails. And I'm not gonna lie, it's like really weird navigating life with like long nails. My hands just feel so much more like prettier or like daintier. I will admit, they're not very practical. I can't do a lot of stuff with long nails. What we're gonna do is we're going to pinch the butter into the flour. I don't know the actual term for it. I think it's pinch. I don't know, you just kind of like squeeze it in until you get these like flaky bits. So I'm using actually margarine. You can use regular butter if you so choose, but here I'm just using like vegan Basil because it's cheap. So we've got our flour and our butter in here. What you're gonna do is you're going to just basically not get your hands covered in butter, but instead sort of isolate or insulate your hands with butter. And you're just gonna like smoosh the butter in until you get like flakes of butter. You can also use a pastry cutter or a knife. All right, so we've got our scone texture here, which is kind of chunky flour, chunky crumbly sand, I guess. So I've made 2 flax eggs ahead of time, which is basically water and flax meal or ground flax seeds mixed together until you get like a weird jelly. Just for ease of distribution, I'm just gonna pour it in here. I'm also going to add in our basil. So this is some basil that I've chopped ahead of time. It's about, that's like a half cup of chopped basil. Whatever, I just got like a bunch from the grocery store and then I just chopped it up. Chop it as like, not super fine, but not ribbons either. So just kind of like rough chunks. You're just gonna sort of try to distribute that throughout. Now we can add this to our flour butter mixture. So this is the buttermilk plus tomato paste plus flax egg. You just pour it in. Use a spatula at first to incorporate things, get most of the flour wet, you know, and then you're gonna have like a pretty nice wet dough. So I like to just kind of fold it and squish to incorporate everything. Ideally, you don't want to mix this too much, but just until everything is sort of mixed in. I'm just gonna turn this over onto my surface. And this is actually a double batch of scones. So the recipe that you see on the blog is double the amount that I'm making in this video, because honestly, if I'm gonna go through the trouble of making scones, I might as well make a bunch of scones, you know? Plus I just really love scones. What I like to do is I like to make sort of like a big log. Just pat your fat scone baby. Doesn't it look so pretty? I love when basil just kind of sticks out like that. That looks delicious. I have my little cutting board. Transfer it onto there because I'm not gonna ruin my table. If you wanted the classic sort of triangle look or whatever, or if you wanted like the round scones, you could roll it out a little bit flatter, cut them, then bake them. They're not really gonna rise that much. They're not gonna spread out much either. I'm just gonna cut this whole rectangular log in half. And then I kind of cut like jagged triangles. Yeah, just cut sort of like rough triangles. You're probably gonna get about 16 scones, depending on how big you cut them. Ideally, they should be about the same size so that they bake evenly. Tessellate them. For any of you math nerds out there, I kind of miss math. I was really good at math in high school. And then I stopped taking math because I was not very good at languages. I mean, I was like, I'm not good at something you say? Well, I'm gonna get better at it. But I didn't really. I mean, I did, but. Were you guys like more inclined one direction than the other? And then you were like, hey, screw the system. I don't care what you tell me, I'm gonna do what I want. My rebel nature is probably not my best asset. We're here now. So we have our scones ready to bake. So preheat your oven to about 375. If you have a hot oven like me, or if you have a rather cool oven, just pump it up to 400. Typically with gas stoves or the electric, like the coil stovetop ones, the old style, I stick to around 375, and on my old electric style that's like a little bit cooler than usual, I stick to about 400. We're gonna put these in the oven for about 25 minutes and then we'll be back shortly. All right, and we're back and they're baked. So I've let these cool totally because I got a little distracted. I've been playing a lot of Hollow Knight lately. It's another platforming game, kind of like Ori and the Blind Forest, which I played on stream before. It's really difficult, but it's really fun. And I've been streaming that on Twitch. So if you guys wanna see that happening, I'll leave a link down below. It's also on my channel. I'm not just trying to plug stuff, but like, I mean, if you guys want to watch me fail really hard at video games, it's a fun time. But anyway, let's eat. So let's break open one of these scones and see the texture inside, eh? That's some flaky goodness. And you know what? We're gonna eat it with a little bit of butter. I love eating a lot of cold butter. It's so good. Am I the only one? Look at that. That is a good time. All right. Mmm. I love a good savory scone. Oh yeah. Super good with like coffee or tea. Probably tea. I like coffee, but I feel like scones and tea just really work well together. Mmm. That's it, guys. I've entered scone phase. I'm just gonna eat my weight in scones now. I love that salty, fatty butter. So good. Mmm. All right, if you guys want the full recipe, I'll leave it linked down below with the blog post, maybe sharing some feelings, and I will update you guys with a wedding vlog sometime soon. And yes, I will come back to the banh mi video. I've actually decided to start working on a vegan pate recipe as well, so I need to make that before I make the banh mi. So I was just using like a store-bought one, but a bunch of you guys keep asking me for a vegan pate. I haven't like figured out a way to make that same sort of texture without nuts yet. Because I've made it before. I made the kale sandwich show pate before and they used walnuts and that was really good, but I don't eat walnuts anymore, so I need to figure out something to replace it. I might use tofu. I feel like tofu would be a good choice. What are you doing upstairs? So yeah, if you guys like this video, give it a like, comment down below, and subscribe if you like what you see. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a delicious day. Bye! Bye. Is it working? Am I crooked? I don't know, I can never tell. Half the time my videos are crooked because I see just a little tiny screen and I can't tell. I feel like it's more centered now though. That's an improvement. We'll take it, whatever. If you guys want the full recipe, I'll leave it linked down below with the ingredients and instructions and all that kind of, I mean, that's just what's in a recipe. I think I got flour on my shirt. Yes, I did. Cool, 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 cool. Oh, my glasses are wet. Now they're dripping onto my face. You done?